I think back to a scenario in which we had a patient who was a high user of SAJAZIR specifically, and insurance was continuing to deny the privatization approval. And at one point, they were indicating that they weren't receiving the actual documentation that was needed. So within the whole reimbursement process, when it comes to like appealing a denial, insurance has certain things as far as timeframes set in terms of when they have to receive the paperwork. In this particular situation, the patient was actually local to me. Where the actual like appeal documentation needed to get to was 3 hours away from my location. So the provider, patient, local to me, the actual insurance company that needed to get the appeal was far away. I was able to have those documents, those sealed documents, and hand deliver them to the insurance company to get to make sure that it was in their hands within the manner that they needed. Again, because they kept saying to us that they were not receiving the paperwork. So this way we had proof. I had someone that I could hold accountable to actually taking receipt of that paperwork. And the result of that, patient did gain approval for SAJAZIR. And it meant a lot. And it's one of my proudest moments because I think back to the conversations that the patient and I would have, and me knowing how their HAE affected them specifically. And the other call out is, in having these conversations with our patients, with our providers, there is a gained interest that is there, right? I can't speak to someone as often as I would speak to them and not want to know about their family, not, talk about their, children who are in college or playing football, playing volleyball, you know what I mean? Talk about, their husband or, those sorts of things. So there is a vested interest in seeing the success of the patient. So that's one of my proudest moments. And I just think back to how excited, how pleased the patient was to be able to get the approval after trying. This was 4 or 5 months in the making of trying to get all the pieces put into play. So I just love that. I love the collaboration that all parties involved. We had a communicative provider. We had a patient who was all about self-advocacy that took steps upon themselves. And you have a company who's willing to go above and beyond the norm to make sure that we're showing up for our patients the way that we've made a commitment to.
Indications and important safety information. Indications. SAJAZIR, icatibant injection, is indicated for the treatment of acute attacks of hereditary angioedema, HAE, in adults 18 years of age and older. Important safety information. Warnings and precautions. Laryngeal attacks. Given the potential for airway obstruction during acute laryngeal HAE attacks, patients should be advised to seek medical attention in an appropriate healthcare facility immediately, in addition to treatment with SAJAZIR. Adverse reactions. The most commonly reported adverse reactions were injection site reactions, which occurred in almost all patients, 97% in clinical trials. Other common adverse reactions occurring in greater than 1% of patients included pyrexia, 4%, transaminase increase, 4%, dizziness, 3%, and rash. Post-marketing experience. The following adverse reactions have been identified during post-approval use of icatibant: urticaria, drug interactions, ACE inhibitors. Icatibant is a bradykinin B2 receptor antagonist, and thereby has the potential to have a pharmacodynamic interaction with ACE inhibitors where icatibant may attenuate the antihypertensive effect of ACE inhibitors. Clinical trials to date have excluded subjects taking ACE inhibitors. Use in specific populations, pregnancy. Available data from published literature and the pharmacovigilance database with icatibant use in pregnant women have not identified a drug-associated risk of major birth defects, miscarriage, or adverse maternal or fetal outcomes. Lactation. The developmental and health benefits of breastfeeding should be considered along with the mother's clinical need for icatibant and any potential adverse effects on the breastfed child from icatibant or from the underlying maternal condition. Pediatric use. Safety and effectiveness in pediatric patients below the age of 18 years have not been established. Geriatric use. Elderly patients are likely to have increased systemic exposure to icatibant injection compared to younger, 18 to 45 years, patients. No dose adjustment is recommended. For more detailed information, please refer to the full prescribing information at sajazir.com/pi. To report suspected adverse reactions, contact Cycle Pharmaceuticals at 1-800-836-4380 or the FDA at 1-800-FDA-1088 or www.fda.gov/medwatch.